Welcome to Quiz Class. I'm Ellen, your host, and today we have a 100-question quiz on English everything. So keep score and tell us what you got in the comments. How many convicts did the British ship to their American colonies between the late 1610s and the American Revolution? 10,000 to 30,000, 50,000 to 120,000, or up to 200,000? 50,000 to 120,000. Which version of English began to be used in the 16th century? Old English, Late Middle English, or Early Modern English? Early Modern English. Which language influenced the English language during the Roman occupation of Britain? Latin, Roman, or Germanic? Latin. What are the two main varieties of English? Australian and Canadian, Indian and South African, or British and American? British and American. What is the term used when English words are incorporated into another language? Anglicisms, Anglicisms, or Romanticisms? Anglicisms. What is the estimated number of English speakers worldwide? Below 300 million, about 500 million, or over a billion? Over a billion. Which company administered colonies and overseas trade for the British Empire? East India Company, Indian Dutch Company, or Hudson's India? East India Company. Which event resulted in Britain losing some of its oldest and most populous colonies in North America? The American War of Independence, 7 Years' War, or Brexit? The American War of Independence. What was the period of relative peace during which the British Empire became the global hegemon called? Pax Romana, Pax Britannica, or Pan-Americana? Pax Britannica. Which country challenged Britain's economic lead in the early 20th century? Germany, France, or the United States? Germany. Which country achieved independence from Britain in 1947? India, Australia, or South Africa? India. What was the motive for many English colonists to risk the transatlantic voyage? Fleeing from religious persecution, seeking economic opportunities, or exploring new lands? Fleeing from religious persecution. Which Dutch colony was annexed by England in 1664? New Netherland, New York, or New Amsterdam? New Netherland. Which colony in the Caribbean became the most successful and densely populated? St. Kitts, Nevis, or Barbados? Barbados. Which battle in 1757 established the British East India Company as the major power in India? Battle of Madras, Battle of Plasencia, or Battle of Plassey? The Battle of Plassey. What event marked the end of France's future as a colonial power in North America? Ceding of New France to Britain, ceding of Louisiana to Spain, or recognition of British claims to Rupert's Land? Recognition of British claims to Rupert's Land. What document proclaimed the colonies' sovereignty from the British Empire and established the United States of America? The Constitution, the Articles of Confederation, or the Declaration of Independence? The Declaration of Independence. What event led to the introduction of a republican constitution in the Irish Free State? The German invasion of Greece on 7th April 1941, the fall of France in June 1940, or Irish Free State introduced a republican constitution? The Irish Free State introduced a republican constitution. What did Churchill and Roosevelt include in the Atlantic Charter? All people are allowed to choose their government, division of Europe between the USA and USSR, or establishment of a global empire? All people are allowed to choose their government. Which British colony in Africa was the last to achieve independence? South Africa, Southern Rhodesia, or Cyprus? Southern Rhodesia. What was the name of the company that administered Bermuda after the London Company's royal charter was revoked? The London Company, the Somers Isles Company, or the Plymouth Council for New? The Somers Isles Company. When did Australian English begin to diverge from British and Irish English? During World War II, after the First Fleet established in 1788, or during the American Revolution? After the First Fleet established in 1788. What caused a deep resentment towards English among the Dutch Afrikaans-speaking community in South Africa? The South African War, the attempt to make English the sole language of law and education, or an influx of settlers from England? The attempt to make English the sole language of law and education. What is the position of the South African English in relation to other English-speaking countries? Noticeably different, complex, multilingual. Similar to Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, it is similar to India, Nigeria, and Kenya. It is noticeably different, complex, and multilingual. What percentage of Canadians speak English as their first language? 20.8%, 38.1%, or 58.1%? 58.1%. Which variety of English does Canadian English tend to be closer to? American English, British English, or Australian English? American English. Which spelling is used in American English for words that end with the R sounds? Fiber, R-E, fiber, E-R, or both are correct in American English? Fiber, E-R. What is the official language of Belize? Creole, Spanish, or English? English. Is English the national or official language of Botswana? National, official, or national and official? The official language. Which country was a former British colony until 1960? Ghana, Sierra Leone, or Nigeria? Nigeria. How many countries make up English-speaking West Africa? 2, 6, or 10? 6. Which country in Micronesia does not have English as an official language? Saipan, Kiribati, or Tonga? Tonga. What was the animal called in the field bred by the occupied Anglo-Saxons? Pork, Schwein, or Kuh? Schwein. Which occupation led to the lexical enrichment of English with words from the Romance branch of European languages? Anglo-Saxon occupation, Norman occupation, or Scandinavian occupation? Anglo-Saxon occupation. What derivative of English is spoken in Wales? Welsh English, British Welsh, or British English? Welsh English. What is the accent called that is essentially regionless and often used as a model for teaching English to foreign learners? Received pronunciation, estuary English, or Cockney accent? Received pronunciation. What is the phenomenon called when the consonant R is not pronounced if not followed by a vowel? R dropping, non-rhoticity, or rolling? Non-rhoticity. Which dialect of British English extensively diphthongizes long vowels, I and U? Northern dialects, Western dialects, or Southern dialects? Southern dialects. Is there a formal code governing the English language in the United Kingdom? Yes, and it is very strict. Yes, but it is insignificant, or no, not at all. No, not at all. Which dictionary is often used as a reference for the English language in the UK? Oxford English Dictionary, Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English, or Chambers Dictionary? The Oxford English Dictionary. What is the basis of British English? English spoken in London and the East Midlands, English spoken in Scotland and Wales, or English spoken in Scotland, London, and Ireland? English spoken in London and the East Midlands. What was the contribution to the standardization of British English? The rise of London as a major city, the introduction of the printing press to England, or the publication of Samuel Johnson's dictionary? The introduction of the printing press. Which countries have Commonwealth English as their basis? Australia, New Zealand, Nigeria, and South Africa, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, and Chile, or India, China, Japan, South Korea, and Singapore? Australia, New Zealand, Nigeria, and South Africa. Which books are considered guides to English grammar and usage in Britain? The Times and the Cambridge University Press Style Guide, Fowler's Modern English Usage and the Complete Plain Words, or the Oxford Manual of Style and the Chicago Manual of Style? Fowler's Modern English Usage. How are the dialects of Welsh English influenced? use of Scottish Gaelic words, significantly Welsh grammar and words, Irish accent and the use of Scottish Gaelic. Significantly Welsh grammar and words. Which of these is not a common accent found in Wales? Cardiff, South Wales Valleys, or Anglian Midland? Anglian Midland. Anglian Midland. What is the colloquial word for Welsh English? Wanglish, Simrenglish, Welshlish. Wanglish. What is the official goal of the English language education in the Netherlands? To achieve fluency in American English, to learn received pronunciation or Queen's English, or a mix of British and American English? Received pronunciation or the Queen's English. What Dutch term is used to refer to the mistakes native Dutch speakers make when speaking English? Kitchen Dutch, Steenkolenengels, or Danglish? Steenkolenengels. What is the name of the English language spoken in areas which have only recently become predominantly English speaking? Danglish, Irish, or Anglo-Irish? Anglo-Irish. Which language is spoken in the Netherlands? English and German, Hollandaise, or Dutch? Dutch. In which century did English speakers first arrive in Ireland? The 9th century, the 12th century, or the 17th century? The 12th century. Which language has a claim to be regarded as a distinct language rather than a dialect of English? Scots, Scottish, or Scottish English? Scots. What were the most significant influences on Australian English? The dialects of Southeast England, the dialects of Scotland, or the dialects of Ireland? The dialects of Southeast England. What is the de facto standard dialect of Australian English? Regional Australian, General Australian, or Sociocultural Australian? General Australian. When did English arrive in South Africa? 2006, 1906, or 1806? 1806. Which language had a significant influence on Canadian English in the 18th and 19th centuries? American English, British English, or French? British English. What is the term used to describe the accent that was once associated with upper-class prestige in Canada? Standard Canadian English, Western American English, or Canadian dainty? Canadian dainty. Which country ceded Florida to Britain after the 7 Years' War? Spain, France, or Portugal? Spain. What event in 1781 led to Britain beginning negotiations for peace terms with the US? Boston Tea Party, capture of Philadelphia, or decisive defeat at Yorktown? A decisive defeat at Yorktown. Which act created the provinces of Upper Canada and Lower Canada in order to diffuse tensions between the French and the British communities? Proclamation of 1763, Constitutional Act of 1791, or the Quebec Act of 1774? The Constitutional Act of 1791. What event marked the beginning of Pax Britannica? Napoleonic Wars, Battle of Trafalgar, or Battle of Waterloo? Battle of Waterloo. What was the period referred to as Britain's Imperial century? Between 1900 and 2000, between 1815 and 1914, or between 1600 and 1700? Between 1815 and 1914. What was the foreign policy of Britain during its imperial century? Global domination, splendid isolation, or colonial expansion? Splendid isolation. Which technology underpinned British imperial strength in the 19th century? Steamship and telegraph, horse-drawn carriage, or carrier pigeon? Steamship and telegraph. What trade helped reverse the trade imbalances between Britain and China? Opium export trade, tea export trade, or silk export trade? The opium export trade. What event led Britain to attack China in the First Opium War? Confiscation of 20,000 chests of opium, defeat of Burma, or the capture of Hong Kong Island? Confiscation of 20,000 chests of opium. What are the indigenous languages spoken in Nigeria? Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Setswana and Swahili, or Nigerian, Zulu, and Sesotho? Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba. What are some sources of vocabulary in Nigerian English? Arabic and Persian loanwords, Greek and Latin roots, or flora and fauna, local cuisine, and traditions? Flora and fauna, local cuisine, and traditions. What is the term for dropping a morphological grammatical number in collective nouns? Plural treatment, singular treatment, or collective treatment? Plural treatment. What is the term for using negative concords, also known as double negatives? Double concord, double negation, or negative concord? Negative concord. What is the trap bath split in Welsh English? More consistent with trap, variable, non-existent palm pronunciation dominates. Variable. What is the term used to describe the alteration between clear and dark L in Welsh English? Congruence, vilarization, or code switching? Vilarization. What is the tag question commonly used in vernacular Welsh English? Isn't it? Look you here, or where to? Isn't it? What does the word tidy mean in Welsh English? Face and hands, neat or clean, fine or splendid? Fine or splendid? What is the term used to describe the mixing of Welsh and English words or phrases in Welsh English? Mix mingling, code switching, or congruence? Code switching. How many schools in the Netherlands offer bilingual education? None, around 100, or more than 500? Around 100. What is the term used to denote the English language as spoken in Ireland? Hiberno-English, Irish English, or Anglo-Irish? Irish English. What is the term used to denote the English language as spoken in Scotland? Scots, Scottish English, or Anglo-Scottish? Scottish English. Which television stations in the Netherlands target the English-speaking community? AFTV, SABC, or CNN? AFTV. When did the gradual adoption of Scottish English in Scotland take place? In the 6th century, in the 19th century, or after the first Scots language? After the first Scots language. Which language has had the most influence on South African English vocabulary? Zulu, Afrikaans, or Xhosa? Afrikaans. What is the English translation of the Zulu word lobola? Informal township shop, medicine, or bride price? Bride price. Which spelling convention is usually followed in Canadian English for words like realize and organization? American spellings are with an S, British spellings with an S, Oxford spellings with a Z. Oxford spellings with a Z. What is the term used to describe the process of Canadian English borrowing words and expressions from other languages? Language standardization, language preservation, or linguistic change? Linguistic change. What conflict led to the dissolution of the East India Company? First Opium War, Second Boer War, or the Indian Rebellion in 1857? The Indian Rebellion in 1857. What was the British government's direct control over India called? British Dominion, British Raj, or British Protectorate? British Raj. What was the result of the partition of India in 1947? About 14.5 million people lost their homes, the Muslim League fell apart, or missionaries were sent by Pope Gregory? About 14.5 million people lost their homes. What event confirmed Britain's decline as a first-rate power? The Mau Mau Uprising, the Falklands War, or the Suez Crisis? The Suez Crisis. Which country did Britain grant independence to in 1961? Kuwait, Jordan, or Oman? Kuwait. Who described the Suez Crisis as Britain's Waterloo? Harold Macmillan, Margaret Thatcher, or an unnamed member of Parliament? An unnamed member of Parliament. Which British overseas territory in the Pacific became a Commonwealth realm? Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, or Fiji? Fiji. For what reasons were the three historical events that trace the history of English in Nigeria? Oil, Nigerian pigeon, education, trade, religion, colonization, or oil, invasion, and colonization? Trade, religion, colonization. What is the difference between Nigerian English and Nigerian pidgin? Nigerian English is spoken by the educated population. Nigerian English is used in official contexts, or Nigerian pidgin is used in official contexts. Nigerian English is used in official contexts. What is the meaning of the Welsh word bach in Welsh English? Little or wee, grandmother or grandfather, friend or mate? Little or wee. Question 96. When did the presence of English in Wales intensify? During the closure of the monasteries, during the Industrial Revolution, or on the passing of the Laws in Wales Acts? On the passing of the Laws in Wales Acts. Which language was used as the medium of instruction in mission schools in South Africa? English, Zulu, or Afrikaans? English. What is the English translation of the Sesotho word mampara? Tree, its edible berries. Idiot, silly person. Large-scale dispersal of tribes, people. Idiot or silly person. Which wave of immigration had the most significant influence on the development of Canadian English? Immigration from Britain and Ireland, loyalists fleeing the American Revolution, or Spanish inhabitants? Loyalists fleeing the American Revolution. Question 100. What is the term used to describe the historical corpus linguistic approach used to study earlier forms of Canadian English? Conte, Reuter, or Anglo-Canadianisms? Conte. Bonus question. What is the term used to describe the unique vocabulary and expressions in Canadian English? Let us know the answers in the comments. Thank you for taking this quiz. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. See you next time.